They have rampaged across cities and villages, killing innocent, unarmed civilians.
The bearded man demands his prisoners repeat, Islamic State here to stay.
They target Muslims and religious minorities, murdering them when they can.
We are an Islamic army.
They're a bunch of psychopaths.
Paraded on a beach in orange jumpsuits before being murdered.
It's their typical combination of Hollywood production quality and just gratuitous violence.
All of us are fighting extremism all over the world.
ISIS is now metastasizing.
The fall of Mosul was a political failure and a military failure.
Iraq is a part of the war on terror.
Syria was a godsend for us.
Their ambition to commit genocide against an ancient people.
We must not be so frozen with fear.
ISIS and Hamas are branches of the same poisonous tree.
ISIL speaks for no religion.
We will follow them to the gates of hell until they are brought to justice.
The situation today is what bin Laden could have only dreamed of.
Because hell is where they will reside. Hell is where they will reside.
Colin Powell made a speech to the UN in 2003 as justification for the coalition going into Iraq.
The American came into the country without knowing the nature of this country.
There were catastrophic strategic mistakes made after Baghdad fell on April 9th.
Could ISIL have done so well without the Baathists on their side?
ISIS successfully taps into several narratives, all of them that play to victimhood. The victim narrative plays to 2003, we lost Saddam Hussein.
That is when this problem from hell began.
When the Americans landed in Iraq in late March 2003 and overthrew a system, it wasn't just an issue of regime change. They overturned a decades or even a centuries-old system of power, privilege, and patronage.
In 2003, and after the overthrow of Saddam Hussein, we have had a rosy dream of building a new, prosperous, stable, secure, united Iraq, built on our 5,000 years of civilization, history. Unfortunately, that was all shattered.
In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed.
لحظة سقوط تمثال صدام حسين بترمز بشكل جيد إن ذاك التمثال بالذات وهو في طريقه للسقوط أمن الخليج الإقليمي كله إلى يعني سحبه كله معه أو معه.
The US-led invasion of Iraq took just 6 weeks to bring Saddam Hussein's 24-year rule to an iconic end.
Other nations in history have fought in foreign lands and remain to occupy and exploit. Americans, following a battle, want nothing more than to return home.
It would be another 8 years before US troops would leave Iraq.
The country was run by one person, Saddam Hussein. Then you remove that person and not attending to the country for more than 100 days. It amounts to be a gross negligence by the American administration then.
With the country shorn of its leader and its government, what began as an invasion soon turned into an occupation.
In short, it was chaotic. A lot of the chaos that occurred was not anticipated.
Ali Kederi was special advisor to the Coalition Provisional Authority, the US-dominated body tasked with governing an increasingly violent Iraq.
Despite what we were being told by various agencies and by the military, it was very clear to me in the summer of 2003, in the fall particularly, that there was an insurgency that was gearing up. The violence numbers were increasing, the casualties were increasing, and frankly, just because I spoke the language, I heard daily that there were rising attacks.
At that point, the response to the United States was mainly denial. Particularly, there was a sense, perhaps, of arrogance that with the size and scope of the US forces there, that who would care to raise arms against them.
Government Minister Ali Alawi worked to restore order during the early years of Iraq's occupation, along with National Security Advisor Muaffaq al-Rabai.
I remember Jerry Bremer came to see me and said, Muaffaq, what is happening? Who is shooting at us? Who is killing Americans? And it was a very simple phenomena to analyze, that the Baathists have started to rebel and took arms, and also some of the jihadists. So that amalgamation of Baathist, Salafist, that's a new, strange creature, if you like.
As head of the Coalition Provisional Authority, Paul Jerry Bremer's first official order was to ban the deposed Ba'ath Party in all forms. It was a decision that both the Americans and Iraqis would come to regret.
Disbanding the army and setting up the De-Baathification Commission, which became a tool of political vengeance in Ahmed Chalabi's hands. We never recovered from those things because hundreds of thousands of people became unemployed, disillusioned, disenfranchised, and took to insurgency.
The concept, the central concept of de-Baathification was right. To de-Baathify, like to denazify. This is from the de-Baathification as originated from denazification, because this is a fascist, brutal, sectarian dictatorship by Arab Ba'ath Socialist Party. Now, to de-Baathify the ideology, not the individuals. But when you come and implement the law, it was implemented with a political settling scores.
Were the Americans aware that that was being done in their name, really?
Yes, absolutely. Many of us were aware that that was happening, warned against it, lobbied the White House and others to stop this, because what we did not want it to become was a sectarian witch hunt. But many other politicians hijacked the De-Baathification Commission and leveraged it for political or personal or financial reasons, including extortion and blackmail. And it directly fed into the popularity and the rise of the insurgency, which directly fed into, because of the disenfranchisement and disillusionment Dr. Rabai talked about, fed into Al-Qaeda's strength.
Probably this is partly has contributed to the insurgency. I don't know whether this is the main reason. I think the main reason that a minority community has lost the political power, economic interest, social status, and they resorted to violence to regain this power.
I wanted to ask you, Martin, the end result of de-Baathification was the Baathists decided to meet up with the Salafists. What do we know about the individuals? What do we know about the Baathists that did decide to, jump into this group and form this alliance? What sort of background have we heard about?
A core group of former officers, senior officers, colonel level and above, in Saddam Hussein's military, did form an alliance of convenience with the Salafist jihadists, who, it must be said, before the war were arch enemies. Saddam's regime did not trust organised political Islam at all, let alone the jihadist current. But by the time they got together, there was a powerful organising principle that the Baathists could bring to the table. But I just wanted to add just one thing to what Dr. Rabai was saying. All of these things about the Sunnis, who were the majority of the Baathists, losing power, losing social status, all of that's true, as is the total lack of reconciliation or re-empowering them back into the communities. But one simple point that keeps coming back in every discussion I have was not just so much a stripping of status, but a stripping of personal dignity. And personal dignity is a key driver of human behaviour in the Arab world. When that's taken away from you, as it was to many of these people, we have seen reactions such as this, which have helped form this catastrophic current that we have now, and it should never be diminished. I mean, that was very, very important to a lot of the motivations.
Please don't get me wrong, Martin. What I am saying, and I have to admit that there are hundreds of strategic, tactical, and operational mistakes in security, in economy, in politics, in services. It's been committed over the last 12 years by the Americans, by the Iraqis, by the regional players. So the mistakes has been committed. There is no doubt about it. But I think the very interesting question is this holy, unholy alliance between Baathism and I would say Wahhabism.
Two disaffected constituencies who had been mortal enemies for many years had finally decided that they had some common ground. And it was, just a variation on the ancient mantra of my enemy's enemy is my friend.
They aligned what was supposed to be a temporary alliance to try to, again, bleed and exhaust the United States or its so-called puppets in Baghdad.
The improvised nature of Sunni attacks, now combined with the Baathist know-how, the insurgency moved to a new scale of terror.
The first major manifestation of it was the assassination of Ayatollah Baqir al-Hakim and the car bomb that took dozens of lives. It was a planned, well-executed, highly political act, which showed that there was something behind it. It wasn't just a one-off type of violence, that it was part of a program.